So it's time for a new pair of cleats, or you got a new pair of pedals and you have to put the cleats on. This is something that confounds a lot of people, and I've been getting a bunch of questions about it, so I thought I'd go over how to do this in the simplest way. The first thing to get out of the way is the fore-aft position of the cleat. The only thing I will say about this, and we'll just kind of keep it simple, is that it is usually safer to err on the side of having the cleat further back on the shoe versus further forward. Which isn't to say that you have to have the cleats all the way back or that having them a little bit forward is wrong. It's just that there are usually many fewer compromises and complications associated with having the cleats a little further back versus having them too far forward. In general, for most shoes, this is going to kind of be the equivalent of having the cleat sort of in the middle of the range that's available, and or maybe a little bit to the back behind that. So when in doubt, keep the cleats back a little bit. So now we have to set the rotation of the cleat, and I'm going to give you kind of a starting point for that. I tend to just eyeball this stuff now, but occasionally if I've got especially if the bottom of the shoe is somehow somehow distracting, or there's some weird contours to it, I will still use the method that I'm going to show you right now in order to line the cleat rotation up properly. And the method I'm going to show you will get the majority of the people really in the ballpark or perfectly fine for their cleat rotation. It's not going to be 100% for everybody, and there's going to, with some regularity, you might need to make some minor tweaks to the rotation. But you'll know that if you set it up this way, it'll be a good starting point, which will make it a lot easier to make those little tweaks after you've ridden it for a little while and start to get some of the sensations from that initial setting. So keep in mind, this won't be perfect, but it's going to get you really close and will help you get to that right cleat rotation pretty easily. So what I like to do is when I look at the bottom of the shoe, I try and imagine where the second and the third toe will be, kind of imagine where the placement is. And from there, I actually you can take the cleat and you can actually bisect the cleat. And you can, if you want to, you can even do this literally like I just did there. You can just run a line right down the center. You can also, like I mentioned, you can go through the shoe and you can mark where that second and third toe are. And from there, it's just a matter of getting the cleat fastened and then line up with a straight edge. You can line up the line you drew on the cleat, use a straight edge until it points to that second or third toe, and that will get you into a reasonably neutral position. From here, the best thing to do is ride it and see how it feels. Give it some time, and what we're looking for is if we feel like the cleat is pushing or pulling our feet into some sort of weird position or rotation we're not used to. Now, as I rode my setup, I began to feel like my left foot was being pushed into internal rotation. I almost felt like I was running into the exit bumper, that area of resistance you come to when you rotate your heel out to clip out of the pedals. So I feel like my foot is being turned in. And so I want to adjust this cleat. And here's where it gets a little bit tricky. You have to think about this a specific way. Now, I want my foot to toe out more. So when I'm looking at the bottom of the shoe, I have to think in opposites for the cleat. If I want to toe my shoe to toe out more, I need to toe the cleat in a little bit more. So whatever I want the foot to do, I'm going to have the cleat do the opposite. So I want to toe out, I'm going to toe that cleat in. Now we'll go try this again and see how that feels. So no matter what you want to do, you always have to move the cleat in the opposite direction. For instance, if you want to move the foot further out to the side and increase the stance or the Q factor of the bike, you actually need to take the cleat and move it in on the shoe. If you want to move the foot forward relative to the front of the bike, you want to move that forward, what you need to do then is you need to take the cleat and move it back. So now when I get back on and pedal, I'm not getting any of those sensations of having my feet or lower legs pulled on, so I can pedal more freely. Now, of course, this just covers the very basics of the fore, aft, and rotation. It does not include some of the more complicated things like wedging, but I do have another video about that. And there will probably be more coming on that soon. And I'm also going to start putting up some short case studies, you might call them, with actual clients that I have that exhibit some of the same problems that many of you out there are asking about. And I'll go through some very specific things about what measurements were important in helping to solve that person's problem, whether it was knee pain or back pain or whatever, hand numbness, etc. And additionally, we'll go over the fixes that are included. What I'd like to do is kind of create like an entire database of some of the more common issues and some of the ways in which they're solved, and I think that might help a few people out there. So check out my website. I'll put a link to it, of course, down below, and be looking for those to start in probably in about a week or so. So that's all for this one. Let me know your thoughts on as far as your cleat position. Have you struggled with it? What things have you tried? And if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks, everyone.